Welcome back to the Grind, Sleep, Repeat podcast. This is our second week, second episode of our half marathon prep training. So, this week we are going to be talking about whether or not it's beneficial to run fast or slow to PR your next half marathon.
Yeah, we're going to cover how we're currently structuring our running specifically and how we are using different intensities with our running workouts to not only finish the half marathon, but also PR. So we'll talk about when to run slow, when to run fast, which one is more beneficial if you have a certain time goal, and just kind of lay out for you guys how we're currently training. Like I said, this whole prep that we're documenting here on the podcast, on our YouTube channels, on our Instagram pages, it's all about documenting what we're doing, not saying this is what you have to do, but this is currently what we're doing. And if you care, keep listening. So let's hop into it. Let's talk about running slow, running fast. Let's talk about our full week of running, what we're currently doing.
Yeah, right now we are currently running 3 days a week and strength training 3 days a week. So, we have 3 running days, 3 strength training days, and then 1 full rest day.
Yeah. And I think that, a lot of people can say that, if you're running a half marathon, why wouldn't you run more? We're taking the approach in this half marathon of a hybrid training approach where we're not cutting out strength training. We're not cutting out that aspect of our training completely. And I think that overall, strength training has such deep roots in our training. But I do think that there's such a benefit to strength training, even if you are an endurance athlete.
Absolutely.
Obviously, if you're trying to build muscle and build strength, yes, you need to be strength training. But I think even if you're not, even if you don't have that goal of strength training or building muscle, you still should be strength training. It's going to help you as a runner. But specifically, the 3 run workouts that we're doing, we have different intensities. So it's not like we're just randomly going out and running. The program is designed to build, yes, and volume throughout the prep, throughout the 12-week prep, build an intensity. Alyssa's goal is to run a sub 1 hour and 50-minute half marathon. Her last one was
154. So that
154.
puts me at a pace of hitting 8:23 minute miles.
And my goal is to run a sub 135. So that's a 7:15 average minute per mile pace. So it's not like we're just trying to go run a half marathon and finish it. We know that we can complete it. Like I could go out the door right now and I could run 13.1 miles and finish it. And I'm not saying that to brag or anything like that. I'm just saying that I know I could do that right now, that I have the capability. What I really want to do is I want to challenge my body to PR and set a goal that is challenging, that I'm not sure if I can accomplish. And our running is structured in a way that's going to help us build endurance. It's going to help us get used to those faster speeds. It's going to help us improve aerobic efficiency, anaerobic efficiency, muscular endurance while we're running. And this is what we're doing. So if you want to run through the start of our week, what that looks like with our run workouts.
Yeah, I'm going to show you guys what this week looks like just as an example. But so on Sunday, we started prep the last Sunday. So on Sundays, we are doing a long run. So this run, we are typically trying to push pace. So, depending on how we're feeling, obviously evaluate how you're feeling. If that's not your day to push the pace, then maybe wait till that next long run. But on Sunday, typically we're going to try to push pace because we know on Sunday that we get to sleep in, we get to fuel our bodies properly. It's kind of a day that we know that we can be fully prepared to hit that pace run. So run at pace on Sundays. And when I say pace, I'm saying trying to get closer to that goal pace that we just chatted about. Mine being that 8:20 pace, yours being that 7:15. So each week we're going to push harder on that though. So we may not quite be there yet. Obviously the goal is to get to that point, but we ran 6 miles on Sunday and then we'll run another 6 miles. What do we do that on Tuesday, Wednesday? And then we have another running day that we did tempo work. So we did 6 rounds, 400-meter repeats. Those first 400 are a sprint. And then we have a jog recovery for 400 and repeat that for 6 rounds. And, after I did that tempo run, I came back, talked to Jordan about that and was like, I really wanted to see where I was there because I haven't done tempo work since we really got into this prep. So it was kind of a good week to just kind of see where you're at. Like week 1 is always that like, okay, how am I feeling? Where can I run pace at those sprints? And then what's my jog recovery pace? And, even with your strength training too, if, we did 3 days a week this week of strength training, am I able to fit in a fourth day of strength training, kind of like just a week to like evaluate what's this feel like? How am I feeling? What can I do more of? What can I do less of? How's my pace feel? Where can I improve? Things like that.
Yeah, we laid out a program that we created for ourselves, and there's always the ability to auto-regulate. Like, even with our clients, the clients that we train here at the gym, our online training clients that we train, we can build the program and make course corrections along the way depending on what we're seeing. So, I'm always checking in with my clients every single week to see, like, how did the week of workouts feel? How is your recovery? How's your compliance with the program? Are things feeling too easy? Are they feeling too challenging? Because you can always make those little tweaks, and that's the same approach that we're taking with this 12 weeks. Is
Yeah.
not every single prep for an event is the same. Sometimes they're going to feel better, sometimes they're going to feel worse, sometimes life gets in the way, sometimes those things can have a huge impact on your training. So you got to know how to make those course corrections. So to Alyssa's point of, we're starting off with 3 run workouts, 3 strength training workouts. We're kind of playing around with the idea of adding a 4th strength training workout. It's so hard for us to only lift 3 days a week, because there was a time in our life when we were lifting 7 days a week. And
Wouldn't recommend that.
I would not recommend it. I'm not saying that you should go do that, but I'm just saying there was a time that we were doing that. Before we started this prep, we were lifting at least 5 days a week, sometimes 6. So it has very deep roots in our background. But our goal right now is to PR this half marathon. So that's kind of the approach that we're taking. We're pulling back the strength training because we want to focus on the running. We want to focus on being recovered. I mean, if we're doing 2 really heavy leg days every single week, that's going to affect our running ability, our recovery. It's going to affect overall performance on our half marathon. So putting a program together, it really has to mesh. It has to be one of those things that makes sense for the individual. Everybody's going to be very different. And that's kind of what we want to document on what we're currently doing. If you are listening to this podcast and you would love a program put together for you, we do also offer online coaching. So if you're not local, we would love to set up time to chat more about what you're currently doing. What are your current goals? We can run through your diet. We can run through how to craft a program to reach your specific goals, because everybody's very different. And we like to customize it to the individual. So if that is something that you're interested, I'll leave a link down in the comment section below to our online coaching form. You can schedule a time for a free call, or we can set up time to chat, and we can talk more about your goals and how we can help. So with our run workouts this week, my legs have felt pretty heavy. They felt pretty tired, and I really expected that. We've been running twice a week, so pretty low running volume, running anywhere from like 5 to 7 miles in that range, 4 to 7 miles. So we're not running a ton before we started this prep. So, as the prep builds, our mileage is going to build up to close to that like 30 miles a week mark. So we'll be getting a lot of miles in, and I expected my legs to feel heavy. But, with our running workouts, you want to make sure that you always have different intensities. And that's kind of really what we wanted to talk about today too, is you don't always want to run slow. You don't always want to run fast. The best of both worlds, the best program is going to mix both of those, so you get the best of both worlds. And if you are showing up and you're running every single run as hard as you can, which we've made that mistake before, you're going to feel fatigued. You're going to not be able to recover from your workouts. It's going to impact your strength training negatively. You might run into some injuries along the way. So you don't want to do that. On the other side of things, if you know you have the ability to run the distance that you're going, so maybe you're signed up for a 5K, 10K, half marathon, marathon, and you know that you can do that distance, don't just run all slow aerobic miles. If you only run aerobic miles, but you set a goal that's faster than you're used to running, you're not just going to be able to wing it on race day. Focus on running fast some of the times. Really, like maybe 1, maybe 2 of those workouts per week can be a faster pace run. Like Alyssa mentioned, fartlek, tempo, repeat style workouts that you're getting your legs used to turning over faster. That's really going to help you improve as a runner. It's going to help you improve your anaerobic energy system. And it's also, like I said, just going to get your nervous system acclimated to running faster. Because if you're running slow aerobic miles, nice easy pace all the time, you're not just going to be able to wing it and throw all these hard miles in. So that's really what our one higher intensity workout per week is really trying to accomplish. A lot of the style that we're doing is a tempo or repeat or farlek. So one of those options, I really like the farlek. I think farlek are one of my favorite styles. It's one of my favorite styles of running because I just feel like it really helps you improve as a runner. It helps you understand how to recover at a jog pace. It gets you used to running at a faster pace. And I just always find that I feel so much better when I'm really throwing farleks into my training. I feel like it really pays off leaps and bounds.
Yeah, you kind of nailed everything with why it's important to hit those higher pace runs versus those slower pace runs, but something that also has helped me personally is I'm somebody who, I tend to have a lower heart rate so I can go for a long distance, but when you put me into like a sprint and turning my feet over quicker is a challenge for me. So the tempo workouts are actually much more challenging for me. So when you mix in those tempo workouts and then you mix in those longer run workouts where you're just running for miles and running for time and keeping that heart rate down, you really start to see the benefit there too. And something that has also helped us too with, those tempo workouts is trying to keep that on like a track or a treadmill. So keeping that at like a flat, surface where we're not doing hills because we've messed around with that a little bit. While I'm sure that can make you get stronger, the more consistent we can be with the specific path that we're running. So if we're doing sprints, we're staying on a track or a treadmill, it's flat. When we're doing those aerobic runs, we like to try to stay around the trail that we're going to be running in for our race. Actually, we go around that lake. It's Lake Zarinsky here in Nebraska. So running around that path, getting familiar with that path so you kind of know where you're at and where the hills come into play. Because when we run different routes, it's hard to keep that heart rate low because you'll run into a hill where you're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't get my heart rate back down because first of all, it's 90 degrees out here right now, and now my heart rate's spiked up. I'm running up this huge hill, and I don't know what other hills are to come." So if you can stick with running in the same areas, getting familiar with, the area that you're running and being consistent with that, I do feel like that pays off a lot
Oh
too.
yeah. Yeah. You can always like when you sign up for a race, you can go look at the page on the race on their website. They're gonna have the exact route that you're running.
Yeah.
They're also gonna have the elevation map. So you can see exactly where those hills are. Are the hills at the beginning? Are they in the middle? Are they at the end? Is it a mixture? So you can kind of mark that down in your head of like structuring your approach. And then we'll talk about that in a future video too, is like
Yeah.
how to structure the approach on race day because you can't just expect with this half marathon distance to just send it from mile one and just be like, I'll be fine. I'll just figure it out.
No hills, just
Yeah, you're gonna run into some fatigue and it's just not gonna work. So we'll talk about that in a future video. But yeah, overall, if you can have a mixture of higher intensity, medium intensity, and then those slow aerobic miles, that's gonna help you develop your running ability. And everybody's going to be predispositioned to one thing, or everybody's going to find that they're good at one style of running and they're maybe not so good at another. So maybe you can run forever and you have really good endurance, but when you start to run faster, either your heart rate spikes too fast, your leg muscles start to fatigue, maybe you just can't hold that pace. That's where, okay, looking at that person, we might structure more of the higher intensity style of runs. Now, not crazy, not every single run needs to be high intensity, but we're going to be more specific with that. That's what we're going to improve. We're going to still keep their aerobic work and build their endurance and continue to build fitness, but we might incorporate some specific higher intensity stuff and faster leg turnover stuff to help them improve and improve that style of their running. Or maybe it's the flip flop. Maybe you can run hard, like that 5-10K distance is like your wheelhouse. But anytime you try to run longer, you're not able to either hold up muscular endurance wise, cardiovascular endurance wise. Maybe your heart rate gets too low. Like me, I'm a high heart rate runner. And that's definitely something that I'm trying to work on in my training. So taking a look at your training and kind of tailoring it to you and not just following a random workout. I think I see a lot of people make that mistake of anything with strength
yeah.
training, with running is, hey, this person's doing this, so I'm going to do this. And yes, that might have worked for that person, but you need to take a more custom approach. And that's really going to help you improve with your goals. I think you got to ask yourself, what are you trying to accomplish? And where do I suck? Where are my weak points? where do I need to improve? Where do I just spend more time instead of just ignoring those weak points, really highlighting those and looking to improve those? Because when you're trying to seek that discomfort and you're trying to seek um, just growth in those areas that you're not very strong or not very good at, and with anything in life, you're going to grow. So it's the same thing with running. You just got to make sure that you're highlighting those. Typically, you're going to struggle with one. You're going to struggle with the quicker, faster running speeds, leg turnover, or you're going to struggle with your aerobic endurance and needing and really just trying to find out which one am I not as good at and how can I really improve.
Yeah, and I do feel like that it's really important to have somebody that can be honest with you. So luckily we have each other. We can put this program together for each other. You can look at me and tell me my strengths and my weaknesses, and I can help you vice versa. We're both coaches. But if we didn't have each other, I think I definitely would need a coach to guide me along the way and make me do the hard shit because nobody wants to get uncomfortable. It's not fun to get uncomfortable, but the things that are going to make you better are the things that make you uncomfortable. So the things that are uncomfortable for me are the tempo work, the quick pace, the quick sprint intervals, where my feet are turning over quicker. That's never been a strength for me. I've personally always been a distance runner. So doing those interval sessions is what's going to make me stronger. It's very uncomfortable for me, but if I didn't have you, to like help me program that into the workout, I would be someone who would just do, okay, I just want to go out for a long run because that's easy. I can do that. But then you have a coach or somebody that you're training with that, you can brainstorm together ways to get better and do things that are uncomfortable for yourselves.
Yeah, I think that's where we're opposite. Like, Alyssa's good at distance. Alyssa's really good at keeping her heart rate low. Me, on the other hand, I'm not. Like, just the other day, we were running and I was pushing pace. Now, I was running closer to race pace, but my average heart rate was like 172. And like, when I run, it's just higher heart rate. I do aerobic work. So at least one of the runs, if not two of them each week, is an aerobic workout. That's going to help me improve and it's going to help my heart rate come down over time at slower paces. That's really the sweet spot of what's going to help you build endurance. And that's
Mhm.
where I need to spend a lot of time because that's where I suck. Like I said earlier, that's just where I am not efficient at running um, for endurance, for keeping my heart rate aerobic and keeping my heart rate low. On the flip side, I really like fast paced run. Like I
Yeah,
really like
but
uncomfortable paces that are really hard. Like I love that 5 to 7 mile distance. Like I just love that. It's just uncomfortable. I can really run hard for that distance. So we're very different in that aspect, but I think that's where we each have each other's different perspectives
yeah,
of this is why this is important and we need this in the program. And this is why this is important. This is why we need this in the program. And that's exactly what a coach is going to provide for you as well, is you're going to be able to take an objective look because when you're just looking at yourself, it's hard to say, hey, this is where I'm not very good at.
yeah,
We don't like to point out weaknesses. But if you can identify those, a coach is going to be able to give you things that, yes, are challenging that you might not program for yourself, but also things that you might not think of.
right.
It's something that, there's lots of things that we'll hire mentors and coaches for. And I think fitness is really one of those things that's the same thing. So
Yeah.
it's a huge benefit. And I think with running, there's so many different methods that you can implement, and there's so many different progressions.
Mhm.
And, we're training for this half marathon. That's our specific goal. You listen to this podcast, you might have a different goal, and that's perfectly fine. But within the realm of hybrid training where we're running and we're lifting, or we're doing some sort of cardio and we're lifting, you can have different goals and you can say, okay, this 3 months, I'm going to focus on PRing this half marathon. And at the end of this 12-week prep, I'm sure we'll get back into a strength phase. We're really going to up the strength training. We're still going to run. We're never going to cut that out, but it's just a up and down of what you can start to say, hey, this is my priority. I'm going to bring the volume up in this and I'm going to bring it down in this. And then this is more of a priority. So I'm going to bring this up, bring this down. And I think that's really the beauty of training as a hybrid athlete is it allows you to be more dynamic. It allows you to improve your overall health and well-being. You're not just a meathead. You're not
Mm.
just a runner. You're somebody that is really prioritizing the best of both worlds with your health. And in any given time, you could go run 5 to 10 miles if you needed to, or any given time, you could lift a car off of someone if you needed to. Like having that ability as a hybrid athlete might be a little extreme example there, but I think it really does allow you to prioritize your health the best way possible while also chasing down performance-based goals.
Yeah, so if you've learned anything in this episode this week, it's to get uncomfortable and do hard shit. Incorporate those longer distant runs, keeping those aerobic, but also incorporating tempo speed work as well.
Yeah, if you can combine both of those in your program, you're going to start to see yourself improve as a runner. It doesn't always have to be distance that you're increasing. It can be heart rate that you're tracking. It can be speed that you're tracking. It can be leg turnover. There's lots of different things that you can start to practice and track and try to improve. And structuring it all in a program is the best way to do so. Having a mixture of some high intensity, a lot of low intensity, and just looking at where you're at and where you want to be and what is the gap and what do I need to do to get there. So
Yeah.
we hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. Like I said, if you are interested in our 12-week prep, follow along to the podcast each week. We'll be posting on our YouTube channels, on our Instagram pages, and here on the podcast, whatever platform you're listening to. We'll be posting once a week on the podcast, talking about different topics, specifically about what we're doing to PR our half marathon. So we hope you enjoyed this podcast. And like we talked about earlier, if you are somebody that is looking for a custom program, you'd like to start working together, we do also offer online coaching. So we'd love to set up time to chat more about what you're doing and tell you how we can help. So there's a link down in the comment section below. Go click on that link. You can fill out that form and we can set up time to chat. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Check these videos out on the screen next, and we'll see you guys in the next one.